Welcome to my YouTube channel and welcome to Adam Cleevely today. Adam is a British knitting pattern designer, a content creator and a social media personality based in Cambridge, England. He is best known for his popular Instagram presence where he combines knitting with humor, creativity and modern storytelling. Very welcome, Adam.
Thank you very much, Linda. I felt slightly nervous what you were going to say about me there. But that was very nice and polite.
Oh, yes, well, I do my best. And
Thank you for a lovely introduction.
Oh, you're welcome, you're welcome. For people who may not know you yet, how would you introduce yourself?
I was having this conversation with someone recently about, knitfluencer is the one, if you want one word for me, I think that's the one I have to go with. The reason I don't like it is because I feel very much like an imposter in the space in some ways, because I've grown so rapidly online on Instagram and other platforms, but I kind of, I'm surrounded by all these incredible experienced knitters who have so much more experience than me, and I sort of feel like I'm not allowed to be in the space, but that's my own hang up about it. But yeah, I love knitting, I love teaching, I love the humor that goes alongside it as well. I love poking fun at where the wholesome nature of knitting doesn't always hold together. It's not always just pure goodness. And I love being able to poke fun at that with these little comedy sketches I do. Yeah, I'm having fun.
Well, we can all see that. If you are not following Adam on Instagram yet, be sure to do so, because there you can find a whole lot of little clips and fun and humor and knitting. So that's nice. What is your life for you in Cambridge outside of knitting and designing?
Well, I have this other world to me, which is a very commercial background and experience. I only started knitting relatively recently, and I have this whole professional career which has nothing to do with knitting. So I did engineering at university. I was a consultant for a while. I have worked in huge data teams. I've ended up running businesses. And I work on the boards of companies as well as a director. So I have this very corporate lifestyle, which is very different from what I do in the knitting world. Most of my I don't have a full-time job anymore. I do bits of consultancy, and as I work with companies that are trying to scale up in Cambridge. But that's what sort of given me the time and space to be able to focus on knitting, which I have so much more fun with than everything else.
And you say, I have not been knitting for a very long time. What time are we talking about here?
I can be really exact about it. It's 4 years and 3.5 months so far, because because it was a New Year's resolution. It was a conversation about a New Year's resolution that I was having with a friend at work. And she said, don't laugh at me, but my New Year's resolution is to learn to knit. And I thought, well, that's an interesting idea. Why don't I do that? And so I went and I bought myself some needles and some yarn, and I just learned to knit, and I was absolutely hooked.
That's another hobby, but okay.
It's true. You see, there you go. I'm not brilliant with the terminology. And because I thought you might ask the question, I actually have with me the first thing I ever knitted, which is...
That would be my next question indeed.
So here it is. It's a very chunky scarf, but I wanted, as you can probably tell by what I'm wearing, I love texture in what I knit and what I produce. And the first thing I wanted to knit was a cable. So as soon as I moved off this tiny swatch, it was, I learned how to, I watched YouTube videos on what a cable was and how to make a cable. And then that was the scarf. And I successfully changed colour a couple of times. And that's it. That was the beginning for me. That's the genesis, the very first thing that I made.
And the yarn choice you made for your New Year's resolution, is that still yarn that you work with nowadays? Or have you moved on to more luxury yarn, or what kind of development happened there?
This is quite a nice wool, actually, but it's very chunky, and I don't knit with much that's this chunky now. I find myself very happy in the middle weights around worsted to DK. I am knitting something at the moment which is on very fine needles, 2.75 millimeter needles, and it's very small and fiddly. But in general, like, I find that I need to progress a bit quicker at the moment, and so I tend to find something around 4 or 5 millimeters and slightly mid to heavy weights. But I can't. Chunky is just too. I don't know. It's too bulky on my hands most of the time.
Yes, and probably the item that comes out of it is more difficult to wear because we are not in a really cold area.
Yeah,
I
that's
think
very true as well.
We are about the same weather-like, so. And
well, I will say for a hat, then that's where it's at, because I don't have very much hair left and it's getting very thin, and so for a hat, a chunky knit does work for me there.
Okay. And so your New Year's resolution was learning how to knit. But when was the moment that you decided, I'm going to design something that other people can knit?
Well, that's a great question, and I think it's the moment I decided to knit and create something for someone else was when I tagged Malabrigo in something that I'd made. And it was a brioche beanie, and they wrote back on Instagram. They replied to the fact that I tagged them and said, "That's really cool. Do you have a pattern for it?" And I was like, "No." And they said, "Well, we'd love to share it if you've got a pattern for it." So I was like, "Oh gosh, right. I need to write a pattern." So I wrote out how to make a brioche beanie, how I'd made this thing, row by row. And then I uploaded it onto Ravelry, and then Malabrigo published it, and then that was on Instagram, and that was desperately exciting for me. That was a real thrill. But I'm not proud of how that was written. And what's interesting for me when I look back on that is it's written in a way that if you don't know how to write a pattern or you don't know how to talk about brioche, it's written in a really basic language, which anyone can get to, and so it's not written properly as a formal pattern. I've actually taken the pattern down now because I want to redo it properly, but that was my first experience of, okay, there could be a pattern, and it was a free pattern, so it got like 400 or 500 downloads, which I was super excited by, and that made me think, oh, hold on a second, if I can design stuff and I can get 500 downloads, then maybe I can make money out of designs, and that would be exciting. Turns out it's a lot harder than that.
My next question was there a point when you realized this could become your career?
I'm still waiting for the moment where I think it can become a career, because at the moment, like, I'm still playing with so many different things in the yarn space, trying to work out where I can make a meaningful amount of income from it. Pattern design, unless you're people talk about the top 10 pattern designers in the world, they make real money out of pattern design. But I think for most other people, you really don't. For the top 1% of pattern designers on Ravelry, they're only generating, in a few hundreds of pattern downloads. And it's difficult to, even designing one thing a month is a big ask for someone. And you're not going to even generate €1,000 or €2,000 of income from that. And certainly when you've got the costs of testing and pattern editing, all the rest of it, it's a really, really hard industry, and it's a very difficult way to make money.
Yes, people have no clue what it needs to actually publish a good pattern. So there's a lot to it, and
yeah.
Indeed. If you look at the very big designers, I am amazed about the amount of publishing they are doing. Like, how on earth can they think of come up with so many ideas and actually write it out in a pattern and put it out there? It's amazing.
but the answer is that those people at the very top of the industry they also have teams of people working with them on that. And it's not, in the same way that in fine art, there are some artists who have, they don't prepare canvases themselves. They don't do all of the base work themselves. They have production studios to be able to do that. It's the same thing in knitting, that you have other people around you to help you with writing out. You can have shorthand for something, or you can knit a sketch of something, and then someone else can take that on from you. And I'm sure that's how those larger designers work.
What makes a knitting pattern truly great, in your opinion?
That's a great question. I think knitting patterns, I love to be able to see my progress through a knitting pattern. And so in a way, the worst knitting patterns that I've seen, so I teach in a charity, and when I go there, I was there this morning actually, and I hate it when someone pulls out a pattern and they're stuck on it, and it's from a magazine published, however many years ago or whatever, and the magazine, because they're so tight on space, the magazine has to condense that pattern down into tiny, tiny space, and everything's written in shorthand, and it's really difficult to track how many rows, where you are. Like a paragraph this big can be describing half of the body of a sweater, and that's really challenging. So that's the worst version. I quite like that pattern design moves on in terms of writing now to a place where it's clearer about, giving you space and also giving you line by line what to do. The problem is, I think, that can go to an extreme where you have a pattern like a shawl, for example, which might have 400, 500 rows, and now you create the expectation that, do I have every one of 500 rows written out for me? Because that's too much. So I think great patterns have to be both clear and have space written out within them, but also they have to be able to be, digestible.
Exactly, yes. Let's talk about what I think is your latest design, the Tide Path shawl. Mm-hmm. Is it the latest? Or have you moved on to your next?
I haven't published anything since. That's the last one I've published.
Yes. Okay, I know you have two there. I have one here as well. So
I have. I can't wear them because I'll be too hot in this jumper if I also put them on. I'll put them on briefly. So here's my prototype. I'll put the prototype on. There's prototype. And then here is my version 2, which...
yes, that one is also lovely.
I'm going to be very cozy wearing two of them. But there we go, yeah.
I was in your pool of test knitters for the Tide Path shawl. It had still a very difficult name then. I'm glad you changed it, because otherwise I would be in trouble. And I really enjoyed seeing all the different color choices that the knitters made. What's your favorite part when you release, or when you have test knitters knitting your pattern, or after release? What's your favorite part about things like that?
The best part of... So test knitting, I find test knitting a really stressful process, because I know every designer is probably different about how they deal with that. But for me, I'm absolutely on the front line. It is me answering questions. And I also try and deal with everything live, because when there's a problem, I don't want someone to be stuck. And I don't want someone... If someone's uncovered a problem, I also want to get to that problem before other people arrive at that same point. So it's quite stressful for me. I put quite a lot of pressure on myself to be responsive. So the great moments for me are when someone else in a test knit says, no, hold on, if you do it like this, or, other people coming together and collaborating and saying, no, I did it this way, or if you do it like that, before I get to the problem. I love that. The moment when people send me like successful pictures of them having done tricky bits or having finished the whole thing, I jump for joy at that. And so, for example, like this is a novel stitch. this chrysalis. So that's something that I developed. I haven't seen it anywhere else. Maybe someone has done it some other time, but I haven't seen it anywhere else. And so I'm in the position then where I write how I think best to do it. And then seeing other people being able to replicate that, that's deeply satisfying. And obviously when people get to the end and they cast off, that's like when you see something on the blocking mats, like I love that moment so much for me, so I love it for other people as well.
Yes. And the fun thing about the chrysalis is the moment I say to people, look, there are chrysalises. Chrysali? What is the... I only talk to Dutch knitters, of course, normally. But the moment I say, look, chrysalis, they go like, oh, yes. They actually recognize the shape right away. So that's the perfect name for it.
Thank you. I mean, people see different things in it when it's in different places. And some people ask me about the design as well, why I didn't leave an extra line of this sort of grey colour here above the chrysalis. But again, that's my experience of going to butterfly houses in zoos. When you see in a butterfly house chrysalises arranged for pupation, they hang them up one by one on a kind of stick. And that's what I wanted to be able to show, is all of the chrysalises or hanging down from one thing. And that's why that was framed in that way. And I didn't want more colours around it.
Yeah, excellent choice.
Thank you.
Yes. Your Instagram has become hugely popular. Did you ever expect that? Yes, let's take this off.
Yeah, take the scarves off. I'm sorry, before I get too warm. Instagram, did I think it would get that popular? I mean, yes and no. I work so hard at it. Like it's not trivial. And I know, I think some people just look at it and think, oh, well, if you can grow by 100,000 in a year, then surely, you just get lucky or whatever. It's not. It's video after video, day after day, studying the data and looking at how everything performs. And so in a way, I create the expectation, because once I could see that I could grow by 1,000 followers in a month, that became my expectation. Then it was 2,000 in a month, and then it was 5,000, and it was 10,000 followers in a month. And so once you know you can find 10,000 new followers in a month, then it becomes your own expectation. If you go back 18 months to when I started my Instagram account, then no, absolutely, I'd never believed that I'd have 140,000 people 18 months later. But along the way, I've become more used to it because it's become my new normal and my own expectations of myself, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. And why do you think so many people connect with your content?
I like to think that, so there are different things I try to do. One is that I try to teach interesting things that I come across, and I like to share those with a big audience. I think one thing that I can do differently to some other people is teach things in a different way. It doesn't mean I'm better at it. I've just got a different voice, and I've got a different way of explaining things. And I know that helps resonate with some people really well. And so I love doing those teaching videos where I can help people and where I can add something to their knitting life. And experienced knitters, I know, sometimes get frustrated with my account because I teach really basic stuff sometimes. But everyone who's learning to knit has to learn everything for the first time. And so that basic content is really important. And I think, I put a lot of time and care into those videos to try and make them as easy to understand as possible. And I think that's one thing that does it. Another thing that makes my account interesting is that I've got a sense of humor which can resonate with people. And I think when people talk about, it's funny, when people talk about my account being funny or I have a good sense of humor, people talk about the videos which get lots of laughs and which hit 500,000 views or 1 million views. But what doesn't happen is, because Instagram shuts down videos that don't work, when I make a video which I think's funny, but no one else thinks funny, no one ever gets to see it because it just goes to a few thousand people, and Instagram, the algorithm just kills it because it's not funny. But I do try and be funny, and I guess some of it does work, and I think that's probably refreshing for people as well to combine those two things, you know.
Yes, and whether a video is funny according to Instagram or not, it is either way the same amount of work for you to make a good video. And how much pressure is there to keep creating and posting? Do you experience pressure or?
Vast pressure, and it's the number one reason why anyone that looks at being an influencer or trying to come into that space, you have to take a long, hard look at yourself, because there is so much pressure. Instagram say, oh, you can take time off from it if you need to, but when they're talking about time off, they're talking about maybe 5 days. Maybe if you take a week off Instagram, your reach, the number of people that you'll connect with, will be hurt for a good 2 weeks after that. So you take a week break and then you're working hard for 2 weeks afterwards to get back to where you were. So if you think about taking a holiday that's 2 or 3 weeks long, which in Europe we'd be very used to, then you're talking about, you can be talking about a couple of months after that of potentially, harm that you do to your account. And so that's where the pressure comes from. If you're doing Instagram because you want the growth, because you want that level of influence, then the pressure is really significant on you to be posting very consistently and to keep that up. And that's hard. That's hard work.
And what does a normal, typical day in your life look like? Because you have your designing work, you would like to knit, you have a private life, you have to make new content. How do you balance all those things?
It's normally whichever thing is screaming the loudest. So when I've got children to get to school in the morning, that will be children. They take priority. My days normally start by taking the dog for a walk or going to the gym, and then after that I'll be, if I'm going to work, then that's just work. But where it is more Instagram focused, typically I will spend time thinking about and planning out, writing down what videos I want to make, and then I'll try and get into them and make them. And the making videos, like the actual shooting videos, probably spend 5 minutes doing it, but setting up a video and editing it afterwards can take hours. So that's where the hard work is.
Yes. And what things bring you peace or help you recharge?
I mean, it used to be knitting. There was a time when knitting was a really joyful thing for me. No, it is. And now whenever I knit, I think, oh, how can I make content out of this? Where's the funny moment in what I'm knitting now? Knitting does bring me peace, but it's also reconnecting with friends. Like one of the other difficulties that I have with the influencer life is that it's very lonely. It's very isolating. And, pattern design, all the rest of that is still very individual. It's a thing to do. So I think one of the things that recharges me most is reconnecting with friends. And it's why I love being able to go out to knit nights in the pub and stuff as well. That I love being able to do that.
What is something people would be surprised to learn about you?
What people be surprised about? I guess it would have to be something that I haven't put out on Instagram. I'm struggling to think of what I don't share on Instagram because I have to share everything.
And there might be a reason that you're not sharing.
Yeah. What would people be surprised about on Instagram? I think they'd probably be surprised that I've got cats as well as a dog, because the cats never feature on my Instagram because they can't wear knitting and they're moody and they just, cats have a mind of their own and just do their own thing. Whereas the dog, Rufus, he's much more biddable and he's around much more.
How old are your children, by the way?
I don't talk about their specific ages, but I love calling them middle-aged because they call me middle-aged, and I'm like, well, within within the world of children, you're not toddlers and you're not like late teenagers, so you're middle-aged children.
And they are probably never in the place where they want to be, because they always want to be older and, well,
exactly, like
next
when
level.
you're exactly that's the wonderful thing about being a child, is that you think every year you get older is a wonderful thing. And I think that changes I guess sometime in your 20s probably.
Yes, and what are there projects outside of knitting you'd like to explore?
Not really at the moment. Like I'm really enjoying the freedom and flexibility. So knitting for me is giving me I'm allowing myself to play in the world of knitting in ways that bring me joy. And it's a very wonderful thing to be able to do. And recently I kicked off retreats. So I'm running Make a Getaway is a new brand of retreats that I'm bringing to the world, which I love. And that's exciting for me. And I love like just being able to experiment and play. Like I get to try being a designer. I get to try being an influencer. I get to try being a VIP when I go along to yarn festivals. Like all of this is wonderful, and I'm really enjoying it. And what I love is finding new things to do with knitting, and that's bringing me joy at the moment. So that's where my world is.
Okay, so my next question is about what are people completely wrong about when they judge knitting?
That there's a right and wrong way to do things. So I get quite upset actually when I'm folding my arms and shuffling around. Like I get quite upset with people who are quick to criticize knitting. I think one of the great things about knitting is there are 1,000 different ways to solve problems. And for me, my experience is learn many, many things and then work out which ones suit you best. But there are lots of people, not lots, there are some knitters who will say, that's wrong, it's the wrong way to do it, you should do it this way, because they were taught to do it in a particular way. Like, that's the wrong cast on, or that's the wrong way to do a cable, or whatever. And basically, you have to find what works for you best. I was teaching someone this morning to knit, and I was teaching them English style, but I could see they were kind of itching to do more with their left hand. And so I said, look, I know I've literally taught you to knit 20 minutes ago, but I want to show you continental. There isn't like English or continental isn't a right or wrong way to knit. It's a preference. And I think, I think that's so true about so much of knitting, that there aren't rights and wrongs. And it really upsets me when someone says wrong, because I think that can damage someone's confidence. And that's the last thing that I want to do.
So what is your next design, your future plan that we can expect in the near future?
Do you want to see one? I actually don't.
I would love to see one.
Well, so I'm working on, I don't know if I've got time for two to show you. So this one here, there's probably, from where you're seeing it, looks like radio static. It's incredibly fine, but it's a very slowly color changing yarn. And it's got this very beautiful slip stitch on it. And the texture comes from another pattern that I've done. And I'm just very excited to see it evolve, because the colors, let me show you the skeins of yarn that it comes from are these. So they'll kind of fade through each other and replace I'm just really interested to see how that turns out. Then another one that I've got, which I keep going back to from time to time. This has been an idea in my head for ages. So there's a cable on here, a really complicated cable, where on my jumper, if you trace one line on the cable, it takes forever to weave its way through. And I wanted to showcase that. And I thought, well, if you highlighted one of the cables in a different color, like this, you could see the cable moving. And so this is a very long tube to demonstrate the movement of that one cable. So it's nearly made it once around, but the whole point of this is that the cable will go around 360 degrees, but then I'll turn it into a cowl.
Yes.
And it will meet up, and the cable will meet up again. All the cables will align, stitch them together, and you will just see this one cable, this one highlighted cable, run around the whole thing. So I'm excited by that, just because I like the idea of that sort of infinite loop and of like the ridiculous level of texture. It's a very complex cable. Yeah, so that's something else I'm working on at the moment.
That is so cool.
Oh, thank you. I'm glad you like that.
If you are at the point that test knitters should get ready, just let me know. I would love to test it with you again. Is there anything that you would like to tell that I might not have covered in my questions?
I mean, the things that so one of the things that I'm really excited about, I talked about teaching a bit and how much I love doing that. One of the places that I'm going to experiment more with is doing slightly longer videos where you can get into techniques in a bit more depth. One of the things I don't like about Instagram is that really, unless your technique video is under a minute, it's very unlikely to get seen by many people. So I'm going to start experimenting with YouTube. And that's not a platform I've been playing on much yet, but it is something where, hopefully we'll see something come out of that in the next few months. So that's a place to try and catch me. If you're not following me on YouTube, follow me on YouTube. And then, I mentioned retreats. I'd love to plug them. My retreats are me teaching for a few days in lovely locations. We've got one coming up in Cambridge in late September and one coming up in Edinburgh at the end of November. And then actually that one I'll finish in Edinburgh and I'll probably be flying straight to Munich Knits, where I'll probably see you again, Linda.
I hope so. Of course I signed up, but, well, they have not handed out the places yet. So
yeah.
I hope that we see each other again there. Are you going to do a crazy game like last year? Well, what happened in Munich stays in Munich, but...
But I'll be back in Munich, so we can make it happen again. I don't know. I think a lot of the same people are going to be there. So, and I love that group of people so much. They're such wonderful people. That group of teachers. Who knows? That's the lovely thing about what I'm doing is like it's all just an adventure, and I love that, and I love sharing that journey with people. So. Yeah, it's such a pleasure and a joy and such a wonderful, I guess, hobby, but also profession to be involved in. If I can step that far, that it could be that for me.
Yes, and you are always moving forward, like now with your retreats and your teaching. So I will just keep following you on Instagram and on YouTube, and I can recommend it to anyone.
Thank you, Linda.
I want to thank you for your time. I want to thank you for taking the time to talk to me, to show your new design ideas. And it was just wonderful to have you. Thank you so much, Adam.
Oh, I'm so delighted, Linda. Thank you so much for having me. And also, I'm going to hold you to the fact that you said you'd test knit for me again. So
I would love to. Yes. Okay.
Amazing.
Well, we will talk about the testing later then. And I will see you again on Instagram and maybe later this year in Munich.
I look forward to it, Linda. Thank you so much.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye.